Okay, this is my first time getting into one of these, so pardon me if it's a little rough. Okay? Now, I initially got into this debate actually, I was into this debate a long time ago. I mean, we had other videos that were posted up, and I was debating over with it. Isaac was also in this as well. Isaac, I think it was Isaac64. And this has been going on long enough. I've gotten back to this video, and really, all I see anytime someone comes up in debates over the PSP versus the DS, all I ever see when a PSP fanboy comes in and starts debating is them going on about how the graphics of the DS aren't as good as the graphics of the PSP. That's something in a debate you can't keep stating the same thing over and over and over again. Now I'm ranting and I'm just debating. It goes far deeper than this. But here's my impressions on how I think this is. Here's my ideas, and note this is my own preference. Now, anytime I normally debate on these things, most people get confused in thinking that I'm just some guy who owns a DS and doesn't own a PSP. I'm some DS fanboy who doesn't have enough money to get a DS. And they're right. I normally wouldn't have had enough money to get my PSP. However, I have very well worked hard to get my PSP. In fact, I used to be a PSP fanboy. I worked my entire summer away the year it first came out just so I can get my hands on a PSP. That was a long time ago, and my PSP is pretty much during that period of time. I'm not saying I didn't have any fun with it. I had a lot of fun with my PSP, but it just got boring. It's not the fact that the graphics weren't good, because they were amazing. I can never hit on the graphics. That would be retarded of me, because the graphics for the PSP, they really do push what graphically a portable system can do. That is its strongest points, next to the fact of it's multi-featured. And that's where it comes to my next points. I enjoyed my PSP for a while, but when it came down to it, and the graphics were no longer the big thing they were to me anymore, since, I got used to them, and after a while, all I kept seeing was port and port and port and port after port after port, and if you don't like port, fine, then probably rehash. Either way, games pulled from other consoles and just kind of redone, like the pre-alpha of another game put onto the PSP. I know most PSP fanboys, when they go to lay their hats on something, they lay them on God of War. God of War is an amazing game on the PSP. Don't get me wrong. But when you're talking about original content, the PSP just doesn't do it. It has no identity of its own. It has nothing that defines it as a console. When I see a PSP, and when anyone sees a PSP, they instantly say it's a PS2. The better way to describe it would be, it's a watered-down PS2 made so you can have it on the go, but, it tends to be a little nicer. You just call it a PS2. And when people normally compare the graphics to that of PS2s, it comes close. It's more like a PSP 1.5 than it is a PSP 2. It's right in the middle. And when it comes to the DS graphics, the DS graphics are pretty much that of the PlayStation, but it's not hugely, massively bad. I've heard comments on the boards talking about how the DS has graphics of the NES, which is it's laughable. It's horrible. It's just really bad. My point being, though, is when it comes down to it, and when you come down to any game console, the problem that comes up on these boards is that the next thing next to the graphics is that anytime they bring something up, it comes down to extra features, which is great. I mean, the DSi is coming out. I fully support the DSi, and I recommend it to everyone. I don't recommend it to people on the basis that it has a camera and it can play music. No, that's not why I recommend it. I recommend it because it has now downloadable content. I recommend it because of the downloadable store. I recommend it because the cameras can be used in gameplay, and that is what needs to be focused on, gameplay. When I go to ask any PSP fanboy about that's where the conversation just blows up, because they don't have any real response for that. Now, the PSP has games. I'm not saying it doesn't, but in comparison to the DS, well, that's where it falters, in games and gameplay. Now, if any of you PSP fanboys want to get in on this with me, and you want to take up my request, I gave this to Glock Ninja. He doesn't want to listen to me. I put it on the boards. He's still not responding. I gave it to that other, whatever, FPSD Zero Minaturo guy, but he just kind of acts like a retard the entire time. He hasn't responded either. So I'm going to throw this out to any of you guys. I want you guys, including any of those guys I just mentioned, to me at least 3 high-quality and fun PSP titles in each of these categories in this order. I want you guys to name me 3 high-quality FPSs, 3 other shooters, what other genre, and just at least, 3 platformers, 3 RTSs, 3 turn-based strategies, 3 racers, 3 RPGs, 3 puzzlers, 3 child-friendly games, ones that can be for children, and that can't have been used. You couldn't have used in any other category yet. 3 adult-specific games, which also can't have been used yet. 3 first-party games, which means they have to be made by the company who made the console itself, or a division of it. And again, that can't have been used yet either. 3 fighters, 3 horror games, or horror genre games, 3 action adventures, or diverse of those two, and 3 original PSP exclusives, which cannot be ports and cannot be remakes, doesn't matter what term you want to use. 3 applications or apps, which means they outside of just video gaming, something that can be used that is useful in some way. 3 simulators and 3 sports games. Now I'm going to throw this out there, and I want to see if any of you guys can take up this challenge, you PSP fanboys. Now I'm willing to put up a debate with this as well, because I haven't put a debate place on my channel yet, and I've actually been brought up on some of my other videos that I've uploaded as well. This is my first video I put up, and I'm going to see if anyone can take up this challenge. And I'm going to post in my next video in defense of the DS, showing the games that it has. Okay, see ya.